Not because you disagree in Parliament means that, or politically, means that you dislike anyone in particular. For me, this is not personal. Persons on the other side are Caymanians. Our political views may not align, but that doesn't mean we have to dislike each other. Madam Speaker, on Sunday, with many of you, I attended the Remembrance Sunday parade. And as I watched the Coast Guard, the regiment, the Cadet Corps, RCIPS, the prison services, our Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, and so many more, young and old, and in particular, our veterans, I had a sense, or I had a deep feeling of emotion took over me. And my colleague, Dwayne Seymour, sitting next to me, thankfully earlier I had said that I can't stop sweating because I started to wipe furiously at my face with my handkerchief. But it was the emotions, Madam Speaker. And it was a sense of pride I felt watching that parade. Sense of pride being a Caymanian. But I can't help but believe that some of the emotions was because of the task ahead of myself and my colleagues in the days to come, and possibly in the days following today. Madam Speaker, many people have expressed that they want to change, just like they did after the election. In fact, on Friday, I was having lunch and in a restaurant. It was quite busy, and I stepped out onto the street to take a phone call, and I was shocked when a person stopped their car in the middle of busy Georgetown Street to jump out and to come and high-five me and tell me, "Go get him, go get him." And I had to retreat back into the restaurant because every time people were passing, they would cross the street or they would come over and say, "You're doing a good job. Let's get this done, let's get this done." But yes, those who support us will say that to us. Those who don't support us will have another tone. But what I can say, Madam Speaker, is that something is wrong. Something is wrong, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Premier spoke about all of the rumors, all of these things that seem to have happened in his caucus or his cabinet. They can't all be lies, or they can't all be made up. We have an old saying, where there's smoke, there's usually fire. The press has covered these things. We have seen them played out here in this very Parliament. We've watched it in amusement across the floor. We receive the messages from our Caymanian people who have watched it in amusement on the television or on their smartphones. And Madam Speaker, they are talking about it. Something has to be done. They're not saying we have to take over. Some do say that. Our supporters say that. But they're saying something has to be done. And Madam Speaker, people are tired of hearing about our problems. People are tired of hearing about PAC's problems. Tired of hearing one rumor after the next. I'll indulge the Premier. One rumor after the next. One controversy after the next. I'll send you all of our videos, Minister, so you can see what we say. We say it on video. We say it on the record. Madam Speaker, they're tired of hearing about our problems. They're tired of us being here tonight debating this. In particular, our younger people. They don't want to hear anymore about our problems. They want to hear us talking about their problems and how we are going to resolve their problems. And may I be brave enough to say that we cannot resolve their problems if we're sitting fighting amongst each other. And I'm speaking in particular about the members on that side. I can tell you right now, the fights that the members on this side have is about who can pay for lunch or something to that effect. But I'm talking tonight about why we are here. And no, I'm not saying we were perfect. In the 8 years that I was in government, we had fights. We lost members as well. You heard our premier at the time, member from Red Bay, Sir Alden, say he offered to resign on occasions. We were not perfect, but that's not what we are here to debate. We are here to debate that the country is in trouble and it needs a change. It needs help. Our people are crying for change, for help. Not saying they're crying for PPM. It's those on that side, Madam Speaker, that have to decide how that change is going to happen. If by some miracle they can come together and find a way to get us out of this constitutional crisis that we're facing at the moment with a 9-9 hung parliament, I will be happy. As long as they have settled their differences and they can go to work for the country in harmony, bring us a budget that will take us through the next year and a half until the elections, a budget that will help our people, a budget that will not put us in bankruptcy for years to come, a budget that they don't say, oh, we don't care about, it's not going to be our government that are going to have to deal with it in 2 or 4 or 6 years, a budget that serves the country for the future and serves the people for today. That is my wish. That is what we are debating tonight. Not what PPM did, what PPM didn't do, not who was invited to what meeting, wasn't invited to what meeting. That's not what we're debating. The people deserves a budget that has been thoroughly thought through, that has been created based on consensus, on advice as to what is best for our people and for the future of this country. Not a budget, Madam Speaker, based on promises or threats, or promises and threats. That is not the way budgets are done. You don't go to one person and say, oh, if you support it, I give you something. And then go to the other person, well, that person wanted it, so I have to take it from you. It don't work like that. It doesn't work like that. What we are debating tonight is that are we willing to risk staying in this constitutional crisis that we're facing? Are we willing to risk not having a budget on December 31st? And for those who say that we may have rushed into this, that we are power hungry and all that sort of stuff, if we don't do it now, you want us to wait until December 31st when the country doesn't have a budget? Is that when we're supposed to do it? Or maybe December 24th, so we can all come out here and spend Christmas? Is that when we're supposed to do it? We are not playing politics. This is about the future of our country, my children, your children, our grandchildren. I want to know, Madam Speaker, tonight, is everyone on that side satisfied and confident that they have agreed on a 2-year budget that will serve the people of this country, that will serve in the best interest of our people today, our people 2, 4, 6 years down the road, because that is when that is when mistakes manifest themselves. Madam Speaker, it's not about building things to put your name on it, or look what I did. One of the largest line items in my first budget was for memory, for the central data system in the government administration building. It had been ignored for years. On top of that was a renewal of licenses so that we could update our systems. You know why these have been ignored for years? Because no one can put their name in it. You can go put your name on a computer down and or mainframe down in the basement. Nobody ain't gonna see it. But it took up a large part of my budget in the first budget that we addressed. And that's what you have to do. Because it's not always about putting your name on something, Madam Speaker. There's been a lot of discussion about how we got here, Madam Speaker, so I won't go over that again. I won't go over that again. I won't talk about this 16-1 vote and all those things, Madam Speaker. I'm not going to go into that this evening. Madam Speaker, I ask the Premier this. Hand on heart, Premier, do you feel that you are, or do you even feel that you're accomplishing your own objectives, your own environmental agenda? Because if that is why you're hanging on over there, that makes no sense, because you're not achieving those either. You're not achieving regen, you're not achieving the beach renourishment, you're not achieving the review of the National Development Plan, which is the foundation of all sustainability. It's the foundation of beach renourishment or beach protection or rising sea levels. It is the foundation of affordable housing, zoning. It is the foundation of infrastructure, roads, hospitals, the whole shebang. Talk about sustainability. You can't talk about it until you deal with the National Development Plan, which is 27 years old. Are you achieving your own agenda, Mr. Premier? These are the tough questions we have to ask ourselves. For other ministers, you got your thing. Is that a good thing? Does that suit the country, everyone? It can't be about me. You're sitting on our front bench, it's about we. You are representing the people of this country. You are the policy makers, the decision makers, the persons that are responsible for the future of our country and the betterment of our people. There's no we in that. There's no me in that. That is we and the entire population of this country and the future population of this country. That is your responsibility on the front. That is why you're sitting there. I do have to respond, Madam Speaker, to the Minister of Health, and I have to admire, I do admire her loyalty to the Premier. I do admire, but I have all the same questions for her. I have all the same questions for her. She talked about the economy growing and people benefiting. Agree with you 100%, but the economy is not growing and people are hurting. You said that there's a lot of lies. It is a lie that the member from Bordentown West is sitting over here now? Is it a lie that the member from Bordentown East is sitting over here now? Is it a lie that the member from West Bay West is sitting over here now? If it is, my eyes are deceiving me. But something is wrong. And do you know if it is a lie that other members have said to me, I really feel like walking over there? Because I can tell you, I know what they said to me. And I can tell you that you probably had a few days where you felt the same way. The only thing that we can all sit in here tonight and say is the very truth, because each one of us in here, I hope, can count. And the one truth we can all agree on is that there's 9 over there and 9 over here. Unless someone knows something different. But we can all agree on that. That is the truth. And that is the predicament that we are in. That is what we are debating tonight. How do we get past that? Where does the blame fall? The Premier has he didn't fire anyone. The Premier has done what he can do. He has reshuffled. People have left his cabinet. So maybe that has been exhausted. Maybe we need to start looking at what is the root cause of the disharmony in the PAC government. Or someone has to stand up and say, it's me. Someone has to demonstrate that they are willing to put country first. And say, it's better I'm not in here because I'm not helping. It's better I'm not sitting in this cabinet because it's not helping. I'm not doing good for my country by being here. I fundamentally do not agree with what's happening. It's better I do not be here. Someone has to. Because what do we do next? Kick the can down the road? Pray for a miracle that somehow a 10th person show up on one side or the other? And then we have to deal with it then if they show up on this side. Or do we wait until, as I said, December 31st when we have no budget? Or days before that when the budget can't pass? God forbid. God forbid one of you on the other side become ill or something. The country cannot pass a budget because you are not here. We're not talking 6 months down the road, We're not talking next year. We're talking we should have been in Parliament 2 weeks ago. We should be debating the budget now. That is what I'm talking about. That is what we are debating tonight. That is what we are crying out for people and saying the country deserves better. One of my colleagues indicated that we are watched as one of the leading overseas territories. The UK has basically appointed us as a model for other overseas territories to follow. First responders for natural disasters, you name it. Sometimes they use us to show to prove a point and then force others to follow suit. But how embarrassing is that? How embarrassing is it? The rest of the overseas territories, the rest of the region, watching us, a hung parliament, and nobody can do nothing about it. What form of democracy is this? My good friend over here to my left, member for Bodden Town East, always talks about we're dumbing down politics. Well, I heard the member, the Honorable Minister of Health, she was spelling it out. Dumb, dumb, dumb. We're dumbing down politics. Madam Speaker, I said I would not be long. So I will close with this, Madam Speaker. You were there on Sunday at the remembrance ceremony. And another proud moment was when they played the audio tape from I call him Mr. Harry. I had the privilege of serving in Rotary with him, and I loved sitting with him in the pre-Rotary meetings and post-Rotary meetings, listening to his stories. And I was listening keenly to the audio tape of the story, some of his stories from when he served in the Trinidad Regiment during World War II, where they were responsible for going out and piloting in the warships. And he said that there was a submarine that used to just sit off the coast and would pick these warships off, sometimes picking them off as they were coming in to the harbor. Madam Speaker, he said one day they went out and they hooked up a warship to tow it in. It had been damaged. And they were towing the warship in when a torpedo struck it. And Madam Speaker, the warship started to sink. And it started to pull down the tug. It started to take with it all of the people that went out to rescue it. And Mr. McCoy, I cannot remember the gentleman's name, in his story said another brave Caymanian, quick-thinking Caymanian, went and got the fire axe and with one swoop chopped the rope separating the tug from the sinking destroyer, saving all those on board the tug. Madam Speaker, I am looking for those brave Caymanians over there tonight to chop that rope. Save the tug. Save what is left. Just like that gentleman did that night. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Does any other member wish to speak? Does any other member wish to speak? Does any other member, the elected member for West Bay South? Sorry, the honourable member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I won't be long. First of all, I hadn't remembered earlier. I just remembered when I was looking at my phone at the dinner break that tonight was the memorial service at Grand Ole House for a young Caymanian attorney named Liesl Richter, who was taken at too young an age by cancer. So during the dinner break, I went to Grand Ole House on behalf of the government to share condolences with the family. Gone too soon. Madam Speaker, I prayed hard over the weekend and through the night and this morning about this vote. The T in PAC stands for transparency. And I'll be transparent with the public. When we caucused last night and were asking for positions on the vote tonight, told my colleagues the honest truth that I had reservations. Reservations because we did, as the member for Bodden Town West suggested earlier in his speech, that in those days of forming the government after the April 2021 general election, a week I probably will never want to relive in my life. But we did form for a noble cause that a group of collective freethinkers could pay strong attention to the grassroots and give it greater attention. To focus on social and community issues. And it is a noble cause. It remains so. But at the same time, when you hold high office, Madam Speaker, you have a duty and an obligation to exhibit respect, professional conduct, and collaboration. That might not be fair, but that is our obligation. We are to lead by example. And if there has been any success internationally or locally, it's not just by the merit of work that the government performed, it's by its conduct and how people perceive you. In those aspects, I don't think I could honestly look you in the face, Madam Speaker, and say that the government hasn't had its shortcomings on those counts. It is true. We have to acknowledge it. We have to face it. We have to confront it squarely. It is true what the member for Red Bay has suggested, that there are civil servants who are more stressed than they've ever been. I've been there. It's not easy to present to caucus on a good day. It's nerve-wracking. You don't want to let down your minister. You don't want to let down your chief officer. You don't want to let down the DG. And at best, at minimum, I should say, they deserve respect in their presentations. And then you end up in an awkward position because you don't want to talk over another minister, and you end up letting it slide. But that means that persons like me who know better also bear responsibility. We can't have a situation, and in this case, as the member for Georgetown South has said, I'm not telling tales out of school. There are things that have happened right here on the floor of this house for the entire world to see, where you have a cabinet that seems at battle with itself, unprecedented. So we have to face these issues. And the reason why they matter is because there's a connection between that and carrying out policy objectives. I think if the DG was here, I think he quotes Peter Drucker, that strategy, the culture eats strategy every time. So you cannot achieve all that you could. And yes, we've had solid achievements. But if you don't get the culture right, it hinders even higher achievement. We cannot have a situation where when we formed in April 2021, that the rationale was to have those collective thinkers that could speak freely, converse with each other, respect each other. We have to do that in order to achieve even more for our people. The leader of the opposition laid out two paths because the arithmetic must be fixed. You can't deny that. Either, if my note is correct, a new PPM-led government, or second, a reformulated pact. And whether that, take names and faces out of it, whether that reformulation is different people in different posts, is just the start of it. It's more so us committing as a group to a better culture. So my prayer is that if we're going to fulfill all the challenges that lie ahead, Don't need to recap them. They've already been said here throughout the night. I will put my hand up to say, I need to do better. I need to call things out when I see it. I need to step in and be a larger voice with my experience to say, I've been on the other end of that table. That's not good. That doesn't exemplify higher office. And it's hindering better performance. Now, we've had cycles of this in this government. And yes, we'll have these junctures where there's a threat of movement on one side of the aisle. We come back together, we pray, we say it's not going to happen again, and then it happens again. And now it's 9-9. But I will commit today to my colleagues, as difficult as this is, that if I step up and you all step up, we can fulfill the mission we started. And that includes collaboration with the opposition. And the proof is in the pudding. There are signs of it. To give credit where credit was due, I told the leader of the opposition I would say so when he congratulated the AG and I on Cayman's removal from the gray list. He participated too. I called him and asked him, would he come to the governor's reception for the on-site team that was checking things out with their own eyeballs? And he came. The purpose wasn't to put on a charade, it was to show the visitors that on these types of issues, when it comes to exhibiting strong compliance, there's no political game being played on either side of the aisle. He conversed with them. We talked about it afterwards. And look, it ends up for us to be a stronger country for it. But instead of now planning, Madam Speaker, business promotional trips, because I've read articles where different markets have begun to open up because we're off of the gray list. There's publications that Cayman Finance sent out where markets such as India and Latin America that used to have us as high risk are now going to allow some of our transactions. So instead of planning those business trips, thinking ahead, trying to figure out the revenue measures, we're here. And not because of anything complicated. One of the strong supporters that I have said, you all's problem are you. Not really the other side. You all's problem is you. And I don't know any other way to put up a pretense. I have to be honest. So, since we've had cycles before, I'm going to be honest with my colleagues and say when I prayed this morning, the thought and the whisper in my ear, which I believe was the Holy Spirit, was to say, don't just look at them, look at yourself and say, how can you help? But know this, the sternest notice that I can give the group, that I'm serious this time, I'll do my part. And if everybody chips in, we can reform somehow and get it together and exceed expectations. But I am going to show how serious I am, that when that, as I'm sure a division will be called, when that tense moment for division comes, the public will know why I will abstain. And then, if we do not make it, and there is some crash, some scandal, from here there won't be any long letters to you or the governor. There won't be any me expounding on any breakfast shows. It'll be a 2-line resignation to say, I would have to put the country first. God bless the Cayman Islands. God bless this team. I don't believe that God put something together that was supposed to fail. So let's come together. We have the ideas. We have the heart. We need to improve our culture. God bless, Madam Speaker.
Does any other member wish to speak? Does any other member wish to speak? Does any other member wish to speak? I now call on the mover of the motion to exercise your right of reply.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it has been an extremely long day as we have debated this important private member's motion on the lack of confidence in the government. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank everyone on the opposition side who has spoken with regard in support of the motion and who quite eloquently laid out all of the number of the issues and problems that we have seen that has been experienced in the last, 2.5 years. Madam Speaker, when I set out with my debate, I chose specifically to take it at a very high level of debate and highlighting what I saw were the particular issues and what potential solutions could look like for this in solving this this issue and the lack of confidence in government. And I've left it to my colleagues to really to put the flesh and the meat on the debate and the discussion. Madam Speaker, I think the issue has been and the motion has been quite ably ventilated here today. And I thank to those on the government side who chose to speak. A bit disappointed we didn't hear more from more members on that side, but be that as it may, we had 3 members of the government bench, led by the Premier, to speak to the motion. Madam Speaker, as I listened to the debate, there are 2 things here that really struck my mind and really gave me pause for concern. And the first one, Madam Speaker, was really what I perceived to be the great contrast in the way it was described by Premier how his cabinet and his caucus operates. Because, Madam Speaker, he led us to believe that all was hunky-dory and that there was, there really weren't divisions and discord between them. But we had two former members of his government who are now sitting in opposition to the government, who described something that was just totally different. And I've also heard tonight one of his own members, his own ministers, say we have to be truthful. We alluded to the fact that these things and these difficulties have existed. And I believe that they have existed for some time, Madam Speaker. And we've heard it, talked about it publicly in the public domain. So we know that the challenges are there. It's not healthy. The second thing I wanted to make mention of, Madam Speaker, is that I had to, for those that spoke on the government benches, it was only the Premier really that mentioned it in a very small way, the real meat of this whole lack of confidence motion. and the reason for it. And it is a fact that they are a minority government. They don't have a parliamentary majority. And so no matter what, if the vote tonight is to quash this and to vote down this motion, we are left in the same position that we are. The mayor alluded that they could work it out, but it still leaves us no better off than we were when we came in here and started the debate. Madam Speaker, I have to say I am fully convinced that we have made the case for there to be a change. Change is needed. Madam Speaker, if we leave here like this, in this position, what are we asking? What are we saying? We're going to leave it to the governor to do it? You mean we 19 in here can't solve this and deal with it? I don't want no early elections. Really? I know that you over there don't want it either. But it is now on the cards. She's not going to leave this for any length of time. We need to look at this seriously. Madam Speaker, I believe that we have made the case, and I believe the members there on that side understand and know it. They're coming to appreciate the urgency too now of the situation. We can't let it. That would be a public embarrassment for us all, Madam Speaker. It truly would be. So those are the things that really worry me as we come down to the end of this debate and put this matter and this motion for the vote. How will those on the government benches vote in this when it comes time to take the vote? We're going to just let it go? We're just going to vote this down? Guys, the opportunity is here. It is upon us. And if we vote it down, what next? What then? Ask yourself that question. We have seen what we have been describing and talking about today, time and time and time again. It really is time for something different. And as we have said on this side, we don't mind if government can put together some alternative that would keep you all in power and allow you to fulfill your term of office. That's fine from our perspective. It's not about me being power hungry and wanting to take Premier's position. Not so. It's about what's doing right for the country. It's about what's doing right for our people. This foolishness really has to stop, and I say that very crudely, but really, Madam Speaker, we got to do something. And the status quo just isn't acceptable. And so I ask you all to think carefully tonight before you vote. The door is open. I know that there are those over there that are dissatisfied and unhappy. Will you have the courage of your conviction to take a move? Country would love for you to do it. Let's do what is right, because that door might slam shut, and it might slam shut very quickly. So, Madam Speaker, I conclude the debate and wrap up here this evening with this on this memo, and invite you then now to put the matter to the vote.
The question now is, be it now therefore resolved that Parliament does declare a lack of confidence in the government. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say no.
No.
Madam Speaker, can we have a division?
Madam Clerk, please proceed with the division.
Honorable Bean Panton?
No. No.
Honorable Juliana Connolly.
Abstain.
Honorable Kenneth Bryan.
No.
Honorable Sabrina Turner.
No.
Honorable Johanny Ebanks.
No.
Honorable Andre Ebanks.
Abstain.
Honorable Barney Bush. Honorable Heather Bodden.
No.
Honorable Isaac Rankin.
No.
Honorable Roy McTaggart.
Yes?
Honorable Mr. Joseph Hugh.
Aye.
Mr. Dwayne Seymour.
Aye.
Honorable Makiba Bush.
Aye.
Mr. Moses Kirkernel.
Aye.
Ms. Barbara Connolly.
Aye.
Honorable Sir Alden McLaughlin.
Aye.
Mr. David White.
Aye.
Mr. Christopher Saunders.
Abstain.
The results of division number 21 for private member motion number 10 of 2022-2023, lack of confidence in the government, 8 ayes, 7 noes, and 3 abstentions. The ayes have it. In accordance with the Section 51(1) of the Constitution, which requires 2/3 votes of elected members of Parliament for a lack of confidence motion to be passed. Therefore, there has to be 12 ayes. In 13, my apologies, 13. As the motion has 8 ayes, it has failed. For the avoidance of doubt, the ayes have it, but the motion has failed. Before I move on a motion to adjourn, I would like to say a few words. All evening, I have been up here writing, and I'm sure you guys have seen I have not been doing dictation of your speeches. I have just been in a position where I keep thinking about constitutional reform. To be sitting here as speaker and to be seeing what's going on, I can't help but put on record that I think that we have to eventually get to the place where the speaker role does become a role that is autonomous. And while I was thinking about the speaker role and autonomy and constitutional reform, then I started to think about political will, and I started to think about all the different things that we need legislative changes on in terms of our constitution. And I know recently we had the Electoral Boundary Commission do their report, which I'm expecting will be tabled here at Parliament in the future. But you really have to wonder if members of Parliament are the individuals that will determine if that report is accepted or not, if we're ever going to really get to the place where we're thriving constitutionally. And we're right back in the same position with the government having a hung parliament. And I see it as a sad day for our country. And I heard everybody deliberate tonight, and I just keep thinking that it would only be fitting for me to remind everyone tonight. I actually came to Parliament over the weekend and took my oath of affirmation, and I was reading it over and over and over because I never want to lose sight on why I'm here. I, Catherine Ebanks Wilkes, do swear that I will well and truly serve His Majesty King Charles III, his heirs and successors, and the people of the Cayman Islands in the office of the Speaker of Parliament of the Cayman Islands, so help me God. And I was placed here as Speaker, although I've been beaten up by the media, because a lot of people seem to have this story that I wanted this position for money. What a lot of people are not aware of is that the government was put in a peculiar position with having the former Speaker resign and difficulty with finding consensus to elect an outside Speaker. And while my decision to accept this nomination was one that took me out of my comfort zone, and I knew that I was going to have challenges with maintaining the support of some of my constituents, I promised myself when I took this position that every decision that I make would be for what's in the best interest of the country, not what is going to get me reelected. So I took the position of Speaker. Of course, it was an elevation, but it was also a huge challenge. And I'd like to think, no, I'm not even going to say I'd like to think, I know that I have displayed nothing but neutrality while I have been here. So much so that I locked my door this morning. I didn't want to speak to anyone. I didn't look out here to see if we had quorum. No one can say that I have interfered in this process, because at the end of the day, that is what the Speaker is supposed to do. I've been receiving calls and even threats, from a minority of the people that are saying that I should move from this position. And if it needs to be so, so be so. But at the end of the day, decisions that are being made should be made for what is in the best interest of the country, not just from me, but from every single one of you sitting in these chairs tonight. And last time I counted, it was much more than the one up here. And there was one thing that came to my mind last night, and I just woke up thinking about it. It just keep chiming in my mind. And I just want to say that I pray that I will live to see the day when a majority of these seats of our parliament will be filled by leaders who possess the political will to make decisions that are in the best interests of the Caymanian people and for the love of country. And although there are 19 seats, until we have enough members who lead based on what is right, status quo will remain, and Cayman will never work for Caymanians. Honorable Premier, I call on you to move a motion to adjourn.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. I rise to move a motion for the adjournment of this Honorable House. Sine die.
The question is that this Honorable House do now stand adjourned. Sine die. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. The ayes have it. This honorable house do now stand adjourned. Sine die.